Perfect. Good morning. Today, as I put on the WhatsApp, I would like to discuss. It's actually a summary of all the previous shiurim that we've given, but I will try to give it as to explain a bit the context of what is the key takeaways and the fundamental key takeaways from parshas in Sefer Bereishis, and specifically why did Sefer Bereishis stop at a certain point and started at another point, the Sefer Shmois. You could say Sefer Bereishis are the stories, and then Sefer Shmois is already the beginning of the first halachas that we have to do. So why do we start with, we end up with Sefer Vayechi? Why is it in the end of Vayechi is really like a conclusion of Sefer Bereishis, so that we can start with Sefer Shmois? And maybe we should have started Sefer Shmois straight away in the story from Yisroi, where we have received the Torah. It would maybe make a little bit more sense to start off Shmois as already the Kabbalah Torah from Sinai. Maybe not. It's not a question which would not keep me awake in the night, but it's a nice fundamental question that if we have an answer, it could be interesting. So I will give you the answer based on the previous shiurim. So I didn't have to prepare a lot, just to structure it a little bit and repeat a little bit things that have been said, so that we can eventually have again a discussion about it. So the Sefer Bereishis is clearly, it starts off with the God as the creator. So it starts off with Bereishis Bore Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz, that in the beginning Hashem created, Elokim created the world. Now there is a fundamental posuk, we already said that, the fundamental posuk of that message that it conveys to us is the element of morality. We said that in the first posuk lies the morality that the Torah is given us, which is to make place for another, to do chesed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he created the world, there is what we call an Ein Sof, an infinity, in order to create three-dimensional space, a four-dimensional space with time as well, and also good and evil. He had to what we call make a tzimtzum. He had to create place, he had to create space and time in order to be able to create the universe, the whole universe and the world within that universe. That means he had to make place from himself. And that is the Bereishis Bore Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. He created that space in order to give for the others. And that is the whole idea of chesed. Chesed, you always do good for the others. It means you give space for the others. Either it is in terms of your money, or it is in terms of your time. You give time for the others, or literally when you make children and you have children and you raise them, you give away from yourself to the others. So this is the morality, the first sentence of morality that the whole Torah will actually continue and teaching us. The second part, which is also important, is the element of the fact that the creation was not done straight away in a perfect way. People think the idea that everything that Hashem creates is perfect, is beautiful, is complete, etc. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the second posuk says something very shocking, and there is little written about that, besides, of course, what the others that later that have come up with that, is the world was toyu voyu, was a chaos, and it was darkness. So the first creation of Hashem was balagan, was chaos, was darkness, was not very nice. And then what he did is he started himself to separate light from darkness, separate waters up from waters down, to separate the Yabosho, then to populate. But this is a process that HaKadosh Baruch Hu explicitly has made. He first created something which is not nice, and then he actually built up and he separated them. In other words, the idea behind that is we believe, seems from that text, that we believe that the purpose of humanity is to do what we call the tikkun ha'olam, is to be metakim, to be mashlim the world, to continuously make the world a better place. So the purpose of humanity was to actually continue, Shoim did it in 6 days, On the sixth day, he created humans. And then he asked to the humans, from now on, I'm going to stop. That's explicitly. The Rebbeinu Shalom said, I'm stopping. In other words, he could have continued, but he said, I'm not going to continue. On Shabbos, he stopped from doing anything else. Seems that there were other things that he was going to do, which he didn't do. And he said to Klal Yisrael, to the humans, you should continue doing the job that I was doing in the last 6 days, which means to continue being metak in the world, to correct the world as much as possible and make the world a better place. So, in other words, we are, as we already explained to you, we are in the 7th day. We are still in that 7th day, very important. The 7th day that Hashem stopped working, because it was never written in Sefer Bereishis, Vayechi Yom Shvi. It never says that. In other words, we are still in the 7th day. When we will come to the end of days, then we'll start the 8th day, which is a time of when Moshiach, when will be in Isgalus Hashrina. This means that in that time we will say Vayechi Yom Shvi. This will be the first pasuk of a new sefer that will be written, and therefore we can actually start to live in a different world, which will have reached a certain kind of perfection. Anyway, you can say Vayechi is not physical, but it's also very symbolic that it is not written in the Torah that the 7th day finished. Why doesn't it finish off? Every day it finishes off. He could have finished it and then continue. So the omission of that sentence means that it's not finished yet, and that we will come to the 8th day. That's why the Yom HaShmini is always yeah. We know that it's finished, but symbolically it's not finished. It means Hashem wants to convey us a message that the 7th day is not finished yet. I still refrain myself from doing something. I'm still in that phase, and I leave it to you, which have the Tzelem Elohim. We humans have a capacity of creativity, and the creativity is the same thing for Hashem. Hashem is the creator. We are creative. So we have the continuation of being creative in always making the world a better place. Yeah. We are still in the Torah void that we have to try to make it separated. Okay, you can, but it means that the first creation was Soyu Voyu. And then each day there is a bit of the Soyu Voyu that we take away. Yeah, it could be. You could say that it was Soyu Voyu and not anymore. But there's all kind of theories about chaos theory. There isn't science, in physics, you have the whole theory about chaos, which could be still a remnant of the Soyu Voyu. So the world tends to first, you need two forces, one to create order, and another force in the world, which is to create chaos. And that's how the whole thermodynamics, there's a whole theories behind that. But there is still a bit of the Toyo Boy in this world. Up to us to always control that and to separate. Okay? Not to be balaga. You're right, I understand your point. You could have said that the Toyo Boy is finished and that we are now, according to the grammatical text. Yeah, before that. And once it's day and night, then the Toyo Boy disappeared. Could be. Yeah. There are always, again, this is as a disclaimer. Everything I'm saying now is just one vision, but there are multiple other visions. There are 70 other visions that we can say. And what? There are another 69 visions. All 70. And I don't know why you would have said it. All 70, because this one is already outside of the Shivim Bond. That's already a political statement, but I agree that this could also be. Okay. Now, there is here, so we have two things. So we have the Elohim that created the world, but there is something there's something very interesting in the story of Sefer Bereishis, which is the fact that, for example, the first perek of Sefer Bereishis is only speaking about Elohim. You can see Vayomer Elokim, Vayar Elokim, Vayikro Elokim, Vayas Elokim, Vayikro Elokim, Vayomer Elokim, Vayikro Elokim, Vayomer Elokim. Only Elokim. There is no, the Loshen Yudke Vovke is not mentioned at all in the whole parsha of Sefer Bereishis, parsha Perek Aleph. Perek Aleph, Vayomer Elokim, Vayas Elokim, Vayivro Elokim, Vayorchesam Elokim, Vayomer Elokim. I mean, you cannot stop and Vayar Elokim. It is only, I think, at the second part where it says Vayetzav Hashem Elokim. There's something interesting. Perek Beis, it's already Vayetzav Hashem Elokim. Suddenly we have already the name Yudke Vovke that has been added on to the Elokim. And I think when Chava has a child, then she says already Hashem as only Hashem. Also Hashem Elokim. And then when she has a child, I don't remember anymore where it says, but it says there that she already started, I think she mentioned the word Hashem on a separate name. So Hashem, there is an evolution here. There is first it starts with Elokim, then it becomes Hashem Elokim, and then only Hashem is a separate name. Now, the Ibn Ezra asks a question, and he asks a question in afterwards by Moshe Rabbeinu. The Moshe says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Kishmi Hashem, Kishmi lo nodati lohem, that I did not tell them my name Hashem. So they don't know my name Hashem. I never to you, even to your parents, I never to your forefathers, I never mentioned the name of Hashem, the Tetragrammaton. I only spoke about Elohim. And so he asked the question, how come? I mean, it's full. Sefer Bereishis is full with Hashem. Even separate Hashem is afterwards, is continuously, Vayidvar Hashem Elov, Vayomer Hashem Elov, it's continuously, there is the name of Hashem. So how can the Torah says in Sefer Bereishis, in Sefer Shmois, that we never said the name of Hashem, why it was continuously saying the name of Hashem? So there are multiple answers. You can answer that no, it was never Hashem, but afterwards, when Moshe Rabbeinu wrote Sefer Bereishis, he put in the name of Hashem, but it's still very difficult to understand. So the Ibn Ezra explains that there is a difference between Hashem Etzem and Hashem Toar. Hashem Etzem means, in French they say a nom propre, means Ari Porush, that's a name, the name of Hashem. And then the Shem Toar means an adjective, a title, something that describes the person or an entity. In other words, it's a verb. Normally it becomes a verb. He does that or he represents this. So it's kind of, it's like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe is his name and Rabbeinu is a Shem Toar. So he explains that the name Yudke Vovke in Sefer Bereishis was still only a Shem Etzem, was his name, proper name, but did not designate anything, just the entity that God is, just designated the name of God. What the name of Yudke Vovke that Hashem showed himself in Sefer Shmois is the fact that it became a Shem Toar. And what does it mean? What does it mean, the Shem Toar? He says the following. In the whole Sefer Bereishis, he says, Elokim presents the Teva. Elokim represents the creation. In other words, it presents a Teva, that everything in the world is run according to physical laws. Physical or metaphysical laws, both. But they are all laws that have been well defined. So this is the Elokim. Then you have Hashem Elokim. It's just expressing who is behind that Elokim, who is behind the Teva. Behind the Teva is an entity, which is God, which is the one that actually created the Teva. So basically it is a kind of the one that runs the Teva, that runs the nature. Both I explain as he is, it's both physical laws, but also metaphysical laws. So if you do bad, you will Can you please put yourself on mute? I don't know who it is. Yeah. And then at some point, at some point, Hashem revealed himself in a particular way where he says, I'm not just kind of a very deterministic thing, which can be easily predictable because nature can be predictable. If I drop that, it will fall and it will break eventually. This is very predictable. And Hashem Elohim seems to be Teva. In other words, it seems to be very predictable. No, Hashem has also what we call a personality. So he has some wants, he has some rotzon, he has something that he prefers over others. And this is something which Avram discovered. And from that moment on, Avram discovered that sometimes Hashem changes the course of people in nature. So the Ibn Ezra explains, Hashem never changed nature. In Sefer Bereishis, there is no nest that happened in Sefer Bereishis. But what Hashem did is, he saw that something is going to happen. There is a mabul going to happen, which could be described as a natural phenomena, tsunami, I don't know what you want to call it. And Hashem said to Noach to build a teva so that he can save himself. Hashem, sometimes what he can do is, he sees that something is going to happen in this city, so he tells to this person, you go away from that city so that you should not suffer from it. But Hashem never changed nature. Yeah, so that's a question that also a lady asked me when I spoke there, but not in the text. So Ibn Ezra is a pashtan. So he doesn't use the medrash, but the Kivshon Eish, the Ur Kasdim, he doesn't use that medrash. He says that normally there is no change in nature. There was no one to see it. There was no one to see it. So he doesn't show himself to the humanity. He hides behind the thing.
For Ur Kasdim, I think the Rambam clearly says that who says the thing with Ur Kasdim, that if I go to your website, it's the vision of people, say why it was never mentioned as a big thing or in the title, because people will think it's just
Kishu.
Yeah, it's just Kishu. So
Kishu. Yeah.
You can say that to everything.
Yeah.
Even for the 10 Makkos, there was a study years ago about the fact that explained all of them as a by fact it's natural. I'm saying everything is natural. It's just because of the time, it's come at the right time. It's not.
The only thing that was not natural was the snare. The Ibn Ezra says the snare is really the symbol from a miracle. The snare was burning, but was not burning. The burning bush, for those who. But that's why the Ibn Ezra explains this is the symbol of miracle. So the snare is the first time that Hashem showed himself as something that will change nature. He actually revealed himself. In other words, Hashem is first Elohim. The first perek is only Elohim. Then is already Hashem Elohim. So there is a little bit of a certain will. There is somebody behind. It's not a machine, a robot. Elohim is a robot. Okay, it happens as it should happen. Therefore, nobody davened to Hashem. Only Avram is the first to ask something to change because he realized that Hashem can change. He will not change nature, but he might, decide to take all the tzaddikim and send them away from Sodom, or maybe he will change the I don't know, whatever. There are ways that he can change the course of things, but not with miracles. The first time that the miracles happened was on the snare. And that means, in other words, that Hashem is revealing himself the first time in Sefer Shmois. So until Sefer Shmois, Hashem was actually always in the background. In nature was at the front, and Hashem was at the back, trying to change names of Avram. Avram naturally could not have children. His muzzle was not to have children. Metaphysical muzzle was not to have children, but he changed his name from Avram to Avraham, so that now he can have children. That's continuously, we see it in the whole Sefer Bereishis, that it's continuously like that. Even the Mabul was considered as, at the end, they considered this as a natural phenomena, and therefore they built the Tower of Bovel, the tower. And so because they thought that it is a natural phenomenon, it's going to happen every 1,300 years, I don't know how much, and so therefore they wanted to save themselves. So this is the whole element of the difference between Sefer Bereishis and Sefer Shmois.
So if I understand well, I would just like to ask you, Elohim, the nature.
Yeah.
Hashem Elohim, well, which was the other one, what you said, maybe I'm wrong, I'm just questioning, right? It's what we call destiny.
Yeah, that there is something, it's not a luck, it's not pure luck, so but there is a destiny.
Destiny.
Yeah, that you cannot change. Only you have.
It's what they call a destiny in general.
Yeah,
you do what you do,
very good.
Maybe it's right? And then you have Hashem, where actually it's acts directly on it.
Continuous, that there's every day you are judged, and every day you can change whatever happens to you.
You think to see Hashem, we need to wait till the push of the
snare.
To the snare of
Moshe.
So, but the problem is, say this, there's the Shema Yisrael. Hashem,
Yeah.
not how they know what Hashem is.
Yeah. But again, the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We know that this was said by Yaakov Avinu, by the children of Yaakov Avinu. But this is again Medrash. In the text, Moshe Rabbeinu said it.
Okay. So we
in the
don't,
text, Moshe Rabbeinu said it. So everything you can say, there's a Medrash and there's a Medrash here and Medrash there. Everything I'm saying, this is already, I think, and the Ma'amar Chazal, of course, everything I'm saying again is a Mahalach, and you will find a lot of Ma'amar Chazal that will go against what I'm just saying. I'm looking as a textual, purely textual.
Yeah, but if we go, and that was my last point, even if we say so Hashem was revealed, and we know since the end of the first Mikdash, he hid it again.
He hid it?
We don't have any Nisim today.
No.
It's over.
Yeah. That's after the Churban by Rishon.
Yeah.
After the first
after the first. So in that case, so today, how would you call it? Because it's not revealed anymore. So it's back to Hashem Elokeinu.
Yeah. It's back to
it's just
hidden behind it.
Because we know it and we live with Hashem, not with Hashem Elokeinu.
So therefore we have to. So we have to. Yeah. No, I have an answer, but I have to build it up. I have to build it up. Okay, I'm not going to jump forward, but then I don't know how much time we have because So that's why also when we say in the Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi Hashem, we say double Hashem. It's simple. Normally we say Hashem lifnei achet, Hashem achar achet. That's the drush. But the pshat means Hashem, who is the Hashem. Okay, it's like Moshe Rabbeinu. It's like Hashem, the Shem Etzem, who is the Hashem. Okay, Rachum B'cham. And that's the whole point with Hashem. Basically, Hashem, Yud Kevovke, that it was revealed to us in Sefer Shmois, is a new Hashem, kind of a new vision of Hashem, which is the one that is the Mekoira Brocho that can add to the Teva, that has a personality, has feelings. Also very important, he has feelings. He feels jealous and he feels upset, and you have to respect him as you would respect an important item, an important, I won't say person, but as an important person, you also have to respect Hashem. That's why the first luach of the Shtei Luchos are also about Yonochi Hashem Elokecho, Asher Hoitzisichu Metzisayim, and that's why it says, because I'm a jealous God, meaning I've got feelings. And then the second luach is more about the element of Hashem, the creator. And this is not like here where, not like here, not like where you have 5 and 5. I don't know. I'm not going to repeat my whole shiur. That there's another another way of seeing the Shtei Luchos, where that there were 3 in one and 7 in the other. When I remember my shiur about that, and I repeated it a few times. And so the one is about Hashem, the personality, unpredictability. You can't predict Hashem. That's why it's Yud Gimel Midas Rachamim, that sometimes he can prolong and wait for a person to do tshuva, sometimes not. So you never know for sure when Hashem will strike, both in the good and in the bad. That gives us a little bit of more time on one hand. On the other hand, it's quite frightening as well. And then you have on the other side is the Hashem, the creator. So these are the 2 visions, and we say that these 2 are the same. So they are, of course, that's why we say Hashem Elokim. On Motzi Yom Kippur, we are screaming Hashem Hu Elokim. The meaning to say that the Elokim is Hashem. Okay? Hashem, he is the Elokim. So when the nature is also Elokim, basically what I said. So when we go out to eat Motzi Yom Kippur, we are also saying that it's not that now we're starting to be busy with Teva. No, now don't forget Hashem Hu Elokim. So the Teva is also Hashem. So therefore, it's all one. We don't see it, but we have to believe that it's all one, that the Teva is also part of the Hashem. So that is the view. Also, a little bit what I wanted to say is the Eke Asher Eke. I will be who I shall be, who I shall be. This is also the same idea. That means, in other words, I'm unpredictable. So I will be who I will be. Like when you ask somebody, where will you be on Pesach? Either you don't want to tell him, or you still don't know. So what do you answer? You say, I will be where I will be. Right? It's a way of saying it. I don't know, or I don't want to tell you. But in any case, you won't know now where I will be on Pesach. And so similarly, Eke Asher Eke can also mean part of the unpredictability of Hashem, which was new for at that time, that there is such a concept that is completely unpredictable. So he's an unpredictable God, which loves, which has emotions that you can love and that actually can change nature as he will. So he interferes when he feels that it is necessary. And this is the difference between Sefer Bereishis and Sefer Shmois. That in Sefer Shmois, Hashem, the word Hashem means already, normally the name of Hashem means the Hashem, with personality, the title, and not the name, the proper name. Now, the second part is, as we explained, is the element of humanity. Humanity was created, and when humanity was created, so there were a lot of different groups that were formed, and then what we saw is that the humans, when they created kind of communities, the communities were built around three different dimensions. And the three different dimensions, we saw it in Parshas Noach, Me'elo nifrede ie hagoyim b'artzoisom, ish lilshoinoi lemishbechoisom begoyim. So lemishbechoisom lilshoinoisom b'artzoisom begoyim. So we see here there are, if you want, three levels of community dimensions. The one is the family, that they grouped into families. They sociologically also group themselves lilshoinoisom in their language, it means the culture. So they formed the group around the similar culture in language, which represent culture and also religion. And then Ba'artzoisom Begoyim is the national grouping. We are one community because we all belong to one country, geographic country, under one king. So these are the three elements that Hashem saw that how the humans group themselves. And when you are in the families fight, but don't kill each other normally. Besides if you're Italian, besides certain Sicilia or something like that, but normally families don't kill each other. They fight, but not kill each other. Actually, it is within a family, there are more fights than between families fight. So typically, normally brothers that fight more than. And so the main idea, when is the killings involved, when is the killings involved, it is on a national level, when there is a war between two different nations. So there is kind of a situation that there was killings, wars between different nations, and that it created tensions. People are more willing to die for a king and fatherland than to die for a brother or a cousin. That's natural. I don't know why, but this is something which is part of the nature of humanity. So Hashem decided to make peace in the world. He liked the idea. He himself created nations, the 70 nations that he created himself, but he said, how am I going to keep harmony between those nations? Is if I create a nation, which will be a little bit the harmonization of the different nations. So it's going to be a nation that he chose. He has to build up a nation. And this process of Sefer Bereishis was the whole looking for that nation. How will he find this nation? Hashem. And it was a nation that was going to play the role of not controlling the other nations, but of making sure that there is a harmony between the nations by creating the house of Hashem amongst them. And so that they can, all the nations, when they have a difficult issue, they will go to that nation. The nation will be dedicated for that. It's a separate nation. It's not a natural nation. It's going to have to build a nation that was built from scratch for that purpose. And that's why we went to Mitzrayim, to lose our identity. An Eved, a slave, loses his identity, and then he had to be rebuilt, reprogrammed. We were programmed, we were erased, Control-Alt-Delete. Everything was erased from our identity, but we had to be recreated a new identity from scratch in order to be able to play that role. The word Goy Kodosh means dedicated for another purpose. Okay, so it's dedicated not for Cholin, but for something else, not for daily. That's why also a prostitute is also called a Kedesho, because she's not for herself, she is for the purpose of somebody else. It's always, so this whole idea of Kedusha means dedicated for another purpose and not for yourself or your daily activity. So that is the difference. So the Goy Kodesh means we are Goy dedicated for a purpose higher than ourselves. So that is the definition of a Goy Kodesh. And that is what Hashem wanted to create. And so he was continuously looking. Now, what is the Kodesh Baruch Hu, the best nation? And that is something very interesting. We're money to explain something very interesting. The attribute of a nation in how Hashem sees the good nation is a nation that has two forces united, which is the tzedakah or mishpat. So it is the tzedakah is the chesed, being able to do charity in the world, charity being rachmonim, but also mishpat, to do justice. Normally, you have in every society, you have a stress on one versus the other. So normally you have a stress on one more than the other. He explains that Christianity is focused on charity, and most Islam is focused on din, on mishpat, on justice. And he says Judaism, the strength where Hashem saw in Avraham, he says in the Pasuk, he saw the capacity to combine both. But combining both does not mean that one is gone and the other one. Both have to be existent, but living together. And so how does it work? So typically it works that a nation is built from two different people, two brothers. So it is one brother that is focused on charity and the other brother that is focused on din, on justice. One brother that is focused on pragmatism, parnosa, security, and one brother that is focused on spirituality, goodness, closeness to Hashem. And so continuously the whole Sefer Bereishis is a trial and error. First, you start with Avraham. Avraham is the first to discover that capacity of Hashem as being somebody that you can love, that can change eventually, that has a purpose, that has a will, and that wants you to succeed. It's like a father figure. That's the first one. And now Hashem said, okay, we'll see from Avraham, there is a potential there. So let's start. Avraham and Lot, two brothers. Lot was not really a brother biologically, but he was the son of his brother. So in other words, considered himself as a brother. Can they live together? And then he says, no, they can't live together. They're separated and they came back together, but separated. So there's a separation. Then Avraham had, okay, so we will choose Avraham as being the one that will continue. Then came Yishmael and Yitzchok. And then Sorot said, to send him away, and Hashem said also, no, Yishmael and Yitzchok, it's on a marchepa. It doesn't match. It's not a good match. We will not take that forward. So it was only on Yitzchok. Then Yitzchok came, had suddenly a twin. That was the perfect opportunity, two twins that will build a nation, the nation of Hashem. Esau would be the pragmatic, and Yaakov would be the spiritual, the one that is Yoshe Boel, he's in the Smedrash, would be a perfect match. But story told us it's a mistake. It's not a mistake, it failed. The whole story was described why it failed, and Yaakov tricked Yosef, and he took the broker, so he should be, etc. So there is kind of things, and Esau never accepted the leadership of Yaakov, and he was willing to say, I'm going to be separate ways. I'm no one to be part of that project. And so Esau left, and so we left over with Yaakov. Yaakov had children, and then Yaakov was nervous. And he says, okay, is it going to stop here? Am I going to be the father of this Jewish nation, or will we have to wait another generation for it to happen? And then starts off two brothers, which also again claimed kingdom, claimed leadership, which was Yosef and Yehuda. So we have again, and therefore you have the whole story of the last parshas, where you see a tension, and you feel a bit of a stress. Will they work together or not? Yosef says, and he is a king, and Yehuda comes and he argues with him, and the whole thing. First of all, he sends him away. Yehuda was not willing. Yeah, he sends him away and he sold him. He says, the Lashon I forgot already, but he says to the brothers, let's sell him and send him to Mitzrayim. So here again, Yehuda says, I don't want to be with Yosef. Yosef is out. And so therefore, these two kingdoms that should work together actually was at every point of history, it was nearly a failure again, continuously a failure. The question is Binyamin. Where will Binyamin be? Will Binyamin be by Yosef or Binyamin be by Yehuda? So this whole story, it's also again a story of where will the future be. Binyamin is the child, is the future, is the youth. Where will it be? So continuously that the tension of will those two brothers succeed in joining hands, forces, and having two kingdoms. So both Yosef as a king, but also Yehuda as a king, but working together, so that each one of them will be tzedakah, the other one will be mishpat, one of them will be spirituality, the other one will be nationalism and pragmatism and parnosa and all the rest. Will they work together or not? And it was not 100% sure. It seemed that Yosef was kind of giving in to Yehuda, but we only know it at really at the end. When Yaakov died, that Yehuda came to Yosef. Now you have to show us your cards. What is really your purpose? Do you want to go up to Eretz Yisrael and build with us, or do you want to remain in Mitzrayim and remain a king of Mitzrayim? And that's the last posuk. Vayomer Yosef, Vaya Yosef, Al tiru achalkem eschem. Don't worry. But Vaya Yosef, and then he says, Pokod eschem vehelu eschem inoros azos aloros hashish ba'avorom liyitzok liYaakov. He said, I am also part. I want to be part of that. Vayishba pokod ivel kim v'alisem es atzmoi sam mizeh. In other words, bring my bones to Eretz Yisrael. That's the biggest proof that he says, I want to be part of this story, and I'm going to join forces together. We don't know how it's going to work, because there's going to always be a tension. But Yosef said, Vayomer Yosef, that by Yosef in time, but this is the end where the Yosef had no more. His father was already died, and so therefore he had the opportunity maybe now to show his real face. His real face was, no, I want to be part. We are going back to Eretz Yisrael, and we are going, and I want you even to send my bones to Eretz Yisrael. In other words, I am with you, and we're going to work together. And that's the moment that we saw that the Jewish nation has been born, because now it's the start of the Jewish nation, because those two forces were willing to work together. This is the beginning of the Jewish nation. And so Sefer Bereishis can stop here, because now we have found the Jewish nation. That was the most important element, where otherwise, if not Yosef joining forces together, we'll have to have a few more parshas until we come to Sefer Bereishis. Vayechi, we'll have to have a few more parshas later. I don't know, will it be through Yosef or will it be through Yehuda? Probably through Yehuda, logically, but the history would continue until we find two brothers that are the different forces and that are actually willing to work together.
Just, if you take yourself, okay, he makes peace with his brother, want to be part of it. Tell me, after Yosef passed away, what is the influence of the Shvatim of Yosef in Israel?
Not yet. No,
but even till today.
Oh, so
I mean,
basically,
you can speak about Yehuda Binyamin. Yes?
Yeah. You can say, according to that the whole history of the Jewish nation is a big failure. And that's also the claim of the Christians. That's why the Christians say, look, at the end of the day, you failed.
We're not Christians.
What?
We're not Christians.
No, but it is a failure. Why? Because the first king was from Yosef, was Shaul, was the first king, and basically not very successful. Then the second king was David, was Yehuda. That was a success, if you want, but it was a success only on the part of Yehuda. So the Ben David, as we say, the Ben Moshe Ben David, which is in this case was Shlomo, he had the role of combining both together. And he built the Beis HaMikdash. On the half of the Beis HaMikdash was built on Yosef and half on Yehuda. So we have here the two on Binyamin, which is also Rochel. It's always Rochel and Leo. Sorry. Yeah. When I say Yosef and Yehuda, I mean Rochel and Leo. That's the two mothers. Now Rochel is the beauty, and Leo is the one that cries. Is the eyes, which is the typical Jew. We cry. Like I said, Rosh Hashanah that we cried, we are very happy. We are happy to be able to cry. So this is typically our part of Yehuda. But the idea here, these are the two forces. Remind me your question again.
No, say what's the
and after Shlomo it was a failure, because after Shlomo, what happened again? split again, Melech, Malche Yosef and Malche Yehuda, and that's our faith in the whole history. So basically, we are at always the Boishon has time. Time is for the Boishon not an issue. So he's trying to see when will those two forces, the Yosef, which today according to Rav Kook are the Chilonim, are the non-religious people, and the religious people, which are the Yehuda, when will they join forces and work together? Does not mean that the Chilonim have to become super religious and the religious have to become things. That doesn't mean, it just means that they have to work together.
And there is a new thing in what you are saying. Also, the mothers. Now you speak about mothers.
What?
Which is weird. You had a new logic of mothers.
Yeah.
You never spoke about them, and now it's like, yeah, but we have if we need the mothers, what Binyamin will be enough. Why they had to go to Egypt? But that might be another story.
Because Binyamin, according to Manitou, Binyamin is kind of the currency. Where is the Binyamin? Is it with Yosef or is it with Yehuda? That's what? No, it can't be. Binyamin, together, it was close to.
No, it was in Marcus.
Yeah. Binyamin was in Marcus. You always chose Yehuda. Shimon was physically also in. Yeah, Shimon, Yehuda, and Binyamin. Yeah. 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 Yosef. Yeah.
When they are going away, and why?
I cannot answer that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know the answer. Any you're there. This is to explain the whole history of the Nach. Yeah. I can't explain, but it's clearly that there's always a choice. That's the whole history of the Jewish nation. Are always two forces are combating each other. Always, and they will always remain. And the whole challenge of when the Achbes Hayomim will be when those two forces will work together. Is it an utopia? Is it something that will never happen? As what's his name? This old philosopher, religious. That Mashiach will never come. It's always like Leibovitch. Is it an utopia and that creates always interesting stories, or will it happen one day that those two forces? According to Rav Kook, Yosef is today represented by the Chilonim, by the non-religious people, who wants force, who wants beauty, who wants culture, nation, etc. And the religious is about the individual. The religiosity is the problem of religiosity is that it is very individualistic. It's autocentric, egocentric. It's like me, egocentric. Sorry, it's me, my neshama. And of course, it's not. But it's the view. The outside view is about me. I want to have an olam haba, so I do mitzvahs. I do chesed because like this I will get better points. So I will go up in heaven and I will receive a higher place. I will sit at the front, not at the back. It's always about me. That's how we teach children because that's the only way to motivate children. But that is how it also became known to the people. That's why the last 200 years people rejected religion because people wanted something that is higher than them. And they wanted the isms, the socialism, communism to change the world. And we are today in a phase where humanity is willing to do what Hashem asked them to do, finally, is to change the world. And not just to change me as a nation, as an individual, as a family, but to go higher and to really make a difference in the world. Global warming, we created the issue. I don't know if we created it because I was in Davos and I saw global warming, so I'm starting with. But there is a movement of really literally the Tikkun Olam. We have to save the planet. The word Tikkun Olam has become not metaphysical or not figurative, but it became physical. The Tikkun Olam is becoming physical. We are going to metakan the world through all kind of politics of. But that's the that's how these two forces are there. And we have an opportunity now that we have one nation, we have two forces, but the Sultan manages to keep us apart or somehow. And maybe one day we will work together. Once we work together, then it will be the ultimate. We will have reached the ultimate goal. Maybe it's not possible because we need to wait for Moshiach ben David. As Moshiach ben David is the one that is going to combine Shaul and David. Will combine the Malchus Yosef and Malchus Yehuda into one. But yeah. So there must have been kind of a cooperation, but it was not very stable because it's straight away this tension split. So Shlomo HaMelech, if you want, is kind of was maybe for history for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it was how do you call it? When you do a movie, you have a not a trailer, like to see what is going to happen. A trailer, kind of a trailer of what's going to happen, but it was not yet really ideal because it didn't last. Took too much, maybe it was too much Yosef or not enough Yosef. I don't know, whatever it is, yeah. So that is the story, and so when the Vayechi stops, really at the moment that the Jewish nation, had its reason of existence, and really it was based on that. And as we said, the history was not always very easy. It was a difficult coalition. There was a coalition partners fighting. There was a complete tension, and therefore we still didn't come to that level. So this is the reason why Sefer Bereishis stops where the last psukim, Vayechi Yosef, to say that he agrees with them and that he's going to be a Zionist. He's going to go up to the land, and he wants his children also to join, and that we will form one kingdom that will have two kind of kings, two forces that will live together. That's why Sefer Vayechi stops here, and we start with Sefer Shmois. So Sefer Shmois is going to be the first time that Hashem presents himself as Yudke Vovke, as a Shem Torah, as a verb, where he's going to have a personality. He's going to be somebody that you can love, that you can pray to, and that you can ask mechila, you can make tshuva. So it's not the Elokim that was in the beginning, and that is the beginning of Sefer Shmois, the first time. And also the nation, the Jewish nation, will have been born as being created, and therefore the idea, that's why we start with Eile Shmois, where suddenly the whole story of when all the people together suffered together as one nation, and there was no differences between the different shvatim besides Shevet Levi, but that's a separate question. Any questions? Yeah, so the idea here is, what I try to answer, I used Ibn Ezra, Manitou, and Rav Kook to explain why this Sefer Bereishis stopped in Vayechi and did not continue with parsha Shmois. The story does not stop. It's not like the story continues. And why did it stop by Vayechi and it starts with Shmois? Because Vayechi is really the end of the really beginning of the nation, where Yosef agreed to join Yehuda to become one nation, to go to Eretz Yisrael, and not to remain a king of Egypt, which he could have, but he did not, chose not to. And so that is really the most important part. Plus also the Elokim, the revelation of Elokim was gradually coming down, and it is in Sefer Shmois that this revelation completed in a few parshas later, where the Maaseh of the snare. That's the first time that Hashem revealed himself as somebody who is willing to change nature. And that is the Vovke Shem Torah. And that is the difference between Sefer Bereishis and Sefer Shmois. Maybe be takezoiche to see the Bias Goel Tzedek, Mashiach ben David, and Mashiach ben Yosef eventually first, and then Mashiach ben David, or those who already believe they came, so the Mashiach ben David should come, and we should be becoming one nation where everybody, the Yosef and the Yehuda should work together, and so that we can see the Tikkun Olam to be completed. B'meiro b'yomeinu Amen.
Avec plaisir.
Thank you.